Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
Oh, it's been a while. Great to have a brand new episode here. Derek Richards in Las Vegas. A Drink with Derek is the podcast. Thanks so much for hanging out. My website is derekrichards.com. I've got a bunch of dates coming up here. Schedule's been crazy busy. I think the last episode that I did was even before we did the Irish comedy tour. And it's just been absolute madness. We had such a great time on the tour, by the way. And we have some real cool video stuff coming up from the Irish comedy tour put together by our newest member of the group, comedian Michael Malone. It is going to look spectacular. I've got some upcoming comedy dates. I'm going to be at the Louisville Comedy Club May 18 through 21. I'll be at the Laugh Factory here in Las Vegas, which is where I am at now. May 22nd through the 28th at the Tropicana. And then Dr. Grin's Comedy Club, June 1, 2, and 3 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Also, right before that, Host, cool new venue in Utica, Michigan on May 31st. All the dates are on my website, derekrichards.com. Also, you can check out, there's a brand new comedy platform. It's called Open Bar Comedy. I've got a special on there called Melting Snowflakes. You've heard of dry bar comedy, which is all completely super squeaky clean. Open bar comedy is not. So Melting Snowflakes is a fun adult comedy show. Openbarcomedy.com. It's a subscription-based platform. They have a ton of comedy specials out there, and they keep adding more and more every single week. It's a brand new project put together by a good friend of mine, Ron Feingold, out of Orlando, Florida. Openbarcomedy.com is the website. Also, check out my book, Whiskey, Cancer, and Bad Decisions. You can snag it on Amazon. It's a hard copy. You've also got Audible. You also have Kindle. It's me telling my story about going through non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, being a 23-year cancer survivor. All right, with that out of the way, get to my guest here today. I had the pleasure of working with this guy on Royal Caribbean's Allure of the Seas recently. Funny dude. We hit it off right away. You can see him in a movie, Reverend Do Wrong, on Amazon Prime. Also can check him out on Starz, HBO's Def Comedy Jam, HBO's Bad Boys of Comedy. He is originally from Memphis, now resides in Atlanta, Georgia. Please welcome my guest, Lester Bibbs, on A Drink with Derek.
I ain't lying. I went out with a girl. She was so hood, she didn't know how to pray. I ain't lying. She was at church going, Ken of Bibbs. Get a blessing. We leaving, they shaking everybody's hand. Goodbye. You can't bring her no more. So I go back next Sunday, I ain't bring her, but she showed up by herself. Had the nerve to testify. Hey, I want to say something. I'm like, oh, shit. She said, last Sunday I was here, I asked God, could a bitch get a blessing? Guess what? He blessed the bitch. She was super hood. Couldn't even listen to music around. I ain't lying, cross my heart, hope to have a Jerry Curl. You been there jamming, Kiki, do you want me? She, who the fuck is Kiki? My nigga, who the Oh, I'm sorry, white people, I said my nigga, it's okay, it's all right. We can say it. You can't say it, though, don't. For your own safety, I don't want, nine nigga.
Make sure you look for Lester's new album called Can a Bitch Get a Blessing? I didn't see you do that joke this past week. That is hilarious, man. Good to see you, buddy. How are you? Lester Bibbs in Atlanta, Georgia right now. How you doing, pal?
I'm good, man, up here at the workhouse. Chilling. Just enjoying time. My son's in town. He's an artist as well, so for him to come through and hang, that was pretty cool.
That was super cool. It was funny actually watching your ring on your door and your son coming and going all the time.
I know, man. He was. Whew. I was like, how many women you have come through these? I'm spraying the place down, Lysol. I'm
Don't
saying,
turn on a
wash the
black
feet.
light. No black lights.
I'm like, oh my God, how did it get there? Would you have a monkey? It
Jesus.
was a squirrel monkey, Dad. I met her at the club.
We had such a good time hanging out together. You've been doing this 40 years. You and I are the same age, 57. You've been doing this
Yeah,
40 years, and you started
yeah,
off in Memphis, and you
yeah.
got
17 years old.
discovered by Steve Harvey at
Yes.
Sir Laughs a Lot. What was when someone says get discovered? So how did that unfold?
Okay, I'm in the audience watching Steve Broderick at the time, and he's performing. He's doing, some of the stuff over my head. I'm 17 at that time, but I'm like this. And I have been coming there. They were sneaking me into the clubs. My friends would talk to the owner, let him just come in. He's not going to drink anything, So Larry Noble would let me come in, and I would go in and do a few bits and sit down and watch and learn. He said, just sit back here with me in the booth, watch and learn. So this week, Steve Harvey said, I got this cat from Cleveland. I want you to learn. He's going to be a star one day. He's funny, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. So I walk in, I watch him. And I was looking like this. I didn't laugh one time. It wasn't because he wasn't funny. I was studying his movements, how he commanded the stage, the timing, the delivery. I'm a kid, so I'm learning like a person who would be watching a basketball player or a football player, where I'm sitting there taking it all in, just like a human computer. So I'm soaking it up. And he was like, oh, you ain't laughed one time. You know how Steve is. Hey, you don't think it's funny? You ain't laughed one damn time. And I'm like, oh, okay. I said, okay. He said, you think you can do it? Come on up here. So I went up and did Richard Pryor's whole CD because I didn't know any better. Are
you kidding me?
Oh my God! Because I had just seen it, I didn't know any better. And Larry then would only let me do 5 minutes at a time. So after my little 5 minutes was gone, and the people were laughing, I was like, I watched Richard Pryor the other night. Would y'all like to hear some of the stuff I learned? And they were like, yeah, we did it that way.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, man. So after I got off stage, he said, hey, you want to do this for real? I was like, yeah. He said, all right, I'm going to take you on the road with me. He said, you got potential, but you can't do other people's material. You got to develop your own. And he said, I need to talk to your mom and dad. I was like, why? He said, well, you're 17, you're a minor. You can't just travel by yourself. So my mom was cool with it. My dad didn't understand, what a stand-up comedy was. He was preaching.
Right.
He was like, he thought I was going to be a clown, like the little one that worked at McDonald's and stuff with the rubber nose and the yellow shoes. I'll never forget that. You're going to be a clown now? Let me get this straight. You ain't going to school. You ain't going to college. You just want to wear a big rubber nose. I was like, it's not a clown, Dad. I'm standing there and I'm telling jokes to be a clown. I'm like, oh, okay. So he didn't understand. It's a true story. So my mom, who was more versed in entertainment, because her background was working with Elvis and all this other stuff, she understood, and she understood that once I got up there, I got the bug, as she put it. You got the stage bug, and you won't never let it go. So I was like, she's right. I didn't, and I just kept going and kept going. But Steve was the one who gave me that start. He took me out on the road. We would drive around. My car didn't have any brakes.
Wow.
I remember us going to McDonald's and the lady was like, can I take your order? I mashed down. I was like, I'll be right back.
So he takes you on the road at 17 years old? I mean, now, were you out of high school at this point, or did you?
Yeah, I just got out of high school. because when I was in high school, truth be told, I had lied about my age because I was taller and I was working a store, but I was working in Dallas and I was using my cousin's ID because he was of age. So I would have a job. So I became the manager. And they had no idea. They thought I
Oh
was
my
25.
God.
I know.
That
They
is
thought I was
so
25.
funny.
During the week, I had to be in school. So the assistant manager was hip to what was going on, but I would let him run the store during the week. On the weekend, he had the weekends off, which he wanted anyway. I'm working. And I would swap out checks with him, to be fair. Once I cash my check, I give him mine, and he give me his. And I was like, wow, you need a raise. I was like, you need one bad. If I can't live off of this, and I don't have no bills. We was working for a place called Hardy Shoes. And I was working in Lancaster Key Shopping Center. So by the time I got old enough to go on, 17 and old enough to go on the road with Steve, I already
Right.
had a little bit of experience from being in Dallas. We got to Cleveland. My first professional gig came at a place called Hilarities. It was Cuyahoga Falls, and it was for Nick Costas, I think that's, and forgot who
That's a great
his
club.
business
Their new
was.
club downtown is absolutely gorgeous in downtown
I
Cleveland.
haven't been there in years. I
Oh,
need to go back. I need to. I
beautiful.
love the one downtown. It is amazing. Oh my God. The only club I've seen that could touch the one downtown is the Stardome. That's the only thing I've seen that's even close to it.
Yeah,
They're
Birmingham,
both,
Alabama, fantastic club.
oh my God, it's insane. Yeah, man. Some of the clubs have just really taken that next step, and I love to see that. That makes us look good.
So, what was it like going on the road with somebody like Steve Harvey, who wasn't Steve Harvey like you said at the time, but here you are, 17 years old. You have
Mhm.
literally almost no experience other than you going up and doing 5 minutes of Richard Pryor's material. So how do
Yeah,
you start writing? How do you start writing stuff, or what did you start writing about, and
that's
how
a
did the audiences receive it?
great question, dude. That's a really great. That's a David Letterman question. My dude, high five me.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
uh, now, I learned a lot. I used that time. Like I said, I was a student, so I used that time to learn. And he gave me a little bit of advice. First of all, he said, first you got to start ironing your clothes. You can't just throw them out. he said, you just throw on a shirt and get, hey, I'm gonna go on stage. He said, you got to dress better. That's when I started dressing better. And I was like writing about things. I would write about stuff that I went through, like when I blew up the butter machine at the age of 14, working at the drive-through. Don't want to talk about it. But that was another time I got fired. What was the last thing you guys heard?
We left where you said where you got to dress up. You said you started dressing nicer for the stage.
Yeah, okay. So you got to dress better. You have to iron your stuff, and write about your own experiences. What you think is funny, and that was it. And I would write, but I still didn't have that click. So we were in Cleveland, got up, blah blah blah. And then he said, "Well, we're heading to L.A." Took us 4 days to drive there, man, with no brakes, in a Datsun 200 SX. I had to
Wow, a
downshift.
Datsun.
Yeah, oh my God. I had to downshift everything. It was brown. And so we get to
So
LA.
you drove Steve, or did he fly out there?
No, I drove Broderick out there. We both drove. Well, Steve, his license at the time was, I hope I'm not telling him too much, but he's talked about it before. His license at the time was suspended. And mine wasn't suspended, but I just had no brakes. So, and we just drove out there. It took us about 4 days, well, 3.5. We get out there. He gets a chance to go to the Comedy Store, and that's when I saw Mitzi, Pauly Shore, I saw Don Rickles was around at that time. It blew my mind. It was like seeing everybody I see on TV. Buddy Hackett, dude. I saw Buddy Hackett, bro. You know, and it shut my hand. My mind was blown. And Mitzi said, "I'm gonna let you come in, but you're going to the belly room. Do you recall the belly room?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I
Oh
went to
yeah.
the belly room, and she said, "I want you to just sit and watch." And that's when Richard Pryor was in there. I was just stuck because that's my hero at the time. I'm sitting there like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're just blown away. He finished his work. There was about 14 people in that little room. It wasn't a lot of folks, and he was slaying it. And I told him, I'm trying to do what you're doing. You know, he asked me how old I was. I told him how old I was, and I told him I was having problems writing. And he said, everything that you think is funny is funny. He said, you got to make sure they understand it. He said, that's the piece you're missing. You have to be able to communicate what they understand. And I was like, and I still wasn't funny for another year.
So Richard Pryor gives you Richard Pryor, arguably someone that 100% deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of comedy, gave you advice, and you went, "Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna keep doing this for another." That's hysterical. Yet so true, because you're also at the time you were what, maybe 17, 18 at this point.
Yeah, still 17 at that point.
Yeah, so you don't listen to anybody at 17.
And then a year later, I finally listened. I was like, "Oh, it's working," you know. And then, that was our only encounter. I mean, I've seen him in the street, but that was the only time we actually had a conversation and stuff like that, where he just sat there and took the time out to talk. And not many people wanted to talk to a kid. You know, they looking at me
right,
like,
how did you get in?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I hope he ain't drinking. I heard people talking about me right in front of me. So it was like, I had my little orange drink. I said soda. My mustache that they had drew on me came off in the drink. That was mascara. That was
You were telling
AJ
me.
Jamal.
Go ahead. What's that?
I'm sorry, AJ Jamal. He's like, we got to at least draw a mustache on him. And it wasn't working for a minute until, he said, just don't get close to people. Always talk like this, la la la. Let them flash it, what have you. And I'm talking and I'm forgetting. He was like,
drew a mustache on you to try to look older.
Oh my God, yeah, it went horribly wrong. What they done?
That is a perfect dumbass teenager move.
It was so dumb too. Oh my God, I wish we had pictures back then. Cell phones with pictures and stuff back then, man. That was funny. Because AJ was the first person I stayed with in Cleveland. AJ Jamal.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed at his house at 17 because Steve was married to Marsha at the time. I let him tell you that story, but that's the twins' mom. So at that time, he was married to her, and I was staying at AJ's house. I had never met AJ. I was there for like 2 months. Then AJ come home from the road. I answered the door. He was like, "Is AJ here?" I was like, "No, he's not here right now. I got his robe on."
Who hooked you up with staying at his house? Steve Harvey had hooked you up with staying at his house?
Yeah, he was like, I got the key to AJ's house. We gonna stay here, So he had told AJ, and I had talked to AJ on the phone a few times, but never met him. And AJ, who was brilliantly funny, by the way. Oh my God! Oh, I learned so much from him. Now I didn't know he was a running back.
And his house he was in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, and I'm there checking out stuff, and I didn't know he was a running back for Kent State. So, at that time, he had just finished up at Kent State, and he was getting ready to try out for teams and stuff like that. And he was phenomenal, dude. I'm looking at all the awards and stuff like that, and I'm expecting this big, strong football player to come. AJ was little. He was tiny as hell. I'm like, oh, this is him. And he said, yeah, we're going to Euclid Heights, and we're going to it was like a church gathering. He said, "You know how to do clean comedy?" I was like, "No." He said, "Well, you need to learn. Come on." And he said, "Just watch me." And he did church. We was calling it church humor back then. And he lit it up. He was hilarious. He said, "You got to have that same enthusiasm when you're going up to do clean comedy as you do." He said, "Don't go up there like you do." I was like, "How was I doing it?" And he was like you were reluctant and mad." I was like, "Cause I was reluctant and mad, cause you felt like you were handicapped." You know what I mean? So yeah, as a youngster, it was hard to tell me stuff because I had to bump my head first, and then I would learn. When I had to grow up
Well,
during that time.
I'm not saying that's just great advice. I mean, for him to go ahead and take you into that environment and say,
Mhm.
you got to be true, because there's different types of clean. There's corporate clean, there's family friendly clean like we do on the cruise ships, and then there's
Mhm.
church clean, which is a whole different level. I mean, you can't
Mhm.
say the Lord's name, period, unless you're talking
Yeah.
about the Lord. You can't just casually
Exactly.
say, Jesus. It's like, no, if you say, Jesus, it's because you're going, Jesus, and there's Jesus.
You feel like he just walked in. You was like, "Dude, I didn't know you were gonna be here. Remember those
Yeah,
tides? Oh, bro, let's get a payment plan together. Holler at me later."
dude, this
Oh
your
man.
show business obviously it runs in your family. JB Smoove,
Yeah.
who was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, brilliant comedian, actor, and is now the spokesperson for Caesar's Sportsbook, the app. The guy dressed up like
Mhm.
Caesar. He's also in the new White Claw vodka commercial
Yeah.
that just came
Yes,
out too
yes.
that you showed me.
That's my boy, man. I'm so proud of him.
Here we go.
Every
Here's the now who is everybody in this picture?
All
Obviously, you
right,
on the
that's
left.
AB. AB used to work for JB, and then that's JB. That's my son at the age of I think he was 10 or 11 there. That was on the set of Barbershop 3, and that's me right there. I'm very
Oh
proud
wow.
of him. Yeah, man. He's a
How did you?
wonderful, and we were already close, so we were glad and we were happy that we were, and we've been close ever since. Every time he does anything, I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like a part of me is doing it. Every time I see him on anything, that's how proud I am. I feel like, because I know how hard he's worked. Jay has put in countless hours of writing and perfecting, and he's so animated. And to watch him away from the stages, that's where all the work go in. To see him get up at 5 a.m. on the computer, sit in front of that desk, and boom, 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 boom. His work ethic was insane. So it was like I thought I was always on. Jay is always on. He's never off. He just left here in Atlanta, and we had the time of our lives. We hadn't seen each other in a while. We had the biggest embrace, biggest hug. We went to Cam Newton's bar, and it's a cigar bar. So I was concerned because I'm like, Cam's a cigar bar. We didn't think this through, but we ended up going up there, and we chilled in the cigar bar part and had a blast. There was no smoke in that part area in the VIP part. Uh, Cam has it really high scale, really upscale, really clean. I love that. It's so immaculate in there. It's laid out. So we had a really good time, and we caught up the next night. The night after that, we caught up. We just kept catching over and over and over again. So it was great to see him. Every time I see him, it's like seeing him again for the first time. Just hanging out like we're kids. Because you know how immature I am. I'm a child. We play. You and I were laughing all cruise long, man. We are first, you have to, especially after the stuff that we've been through. Man, we know what's
No, no,
important.
100%. So I mean, so you were working
Hmm.
on the circuit. You were working on the circuit with JB. You're on the
Yeah,
circuit
we
with
have been
JB
working on
Smoove,
something.
and you've been working together for a
Yeah,
long time, and you were friends already, and then all of a sudden, here's this.
I'm like, dude, this is different. And then we talk. People talk to each other, and we were happy. I've been knowing Jay since I was a kid. My dad used to preach
Wow.
up north, down south. Um, so we never publicly told people the connection about who was what. and it was agreed. But I always break agreements. I'm being silly. No, I don't. But we just
Well,
kept
he
it
came out
quiet.
and said it. From
Yeah,
what
he
you had
did.
told me,
He did.
JB came out in
Yeah,
the interview and
everybody.
said that that you and he's like, yeah, me and Lester Bibbs are brothers, and
Yeah, yeah. He tell everybody. He tells everybody now. But for years, people didn't know we were brothers. They just thought we were really close friends. So we just let people think what they want. But we've been knowing since at least '92. So
that
you
is
know,
so cool. I want to pull up some
yeah.
pictures here real quick that you had sent over. Sean, let's go ahead and pull these up. I want to walk through these with Lester. Um, Now this is you and JB here also.
Yeah, that's JB. And we were in Atlanta at Houston's. That's Houston's.
Okay.
He was there. It was his birthday. He was with his wife. Lovely wife. Oh my God. One of the sweetest people on the planet. I so love that lady. She is perfect for him, man. If God just sit back and say, I'm going to make a mate for you, he hooked him up. Perfect lady.
That's super cool. What's the next picture here, Sean? Go ahead and roll that one. Let's see. This is
That's one of JB's birthday parties in LA. That was a really cool night. Everybody and their mama was there. Larry David was there. Everybody was in
oh
there in
no
that party.
shit.
Yeah, you name it. I mean, Michael J. White. If you was any kind of star, you was at that party. It was
He's got.
huge. It was in.
Now here's my question, because that's the same jacket that you have. So who had it? Who had it first?
No, mine's not as expensive as his.
All right.
He had it first. That's in 2016. I just got mine
Okay.
last year.
Gotcha.
I had to wait a
Sean,
while.
next picture. This is you guys. Now where's this at?
This is outside at that's either my mom's house or Dexter Tucker's house. They both look alike,
Okay.
and that picture was taken when I was sick, so I don't remember quite well. And I look like the ice cream man in that picture. That's pretty
You look
bad.
like, I was going to say, the ice cream man or the tooth fairy, one or the other. All right, Sean, next picture.
Okay.
There we go. It's Anthony Anderson. Where's this at?
This is at the Uptown. That's at Uptown Comedy Theater. I didn't have hair then. Cedric, the entertainer, was there that night as well. And that was during the time I was coming back from the chemo. That was early on. And I had lost my hair, my eyebrows, and everything was starting to grow back a little, but not much. And he was back there, wishing me well. Took a picture with Anthony, and that was cool. That was the last time I actually saw Anthony.
Now, how long ago was this?
2016.
Okay. And I'm going to talk about your cancer thing here in a second. Sean, do we have any more pictures? I'm trying to think if we got some more that Lester had sent over. Oh, here we go. That's you and Don Lemon.
Yeah, man. He is.
Now, was this taken when he was in the unemployment line recently, or no?
Oh no, my hair is so short in there. That was like 2018, somewhere up in there. 2017.
Now, where was this at?
Tom Joyner Cruise.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, man. It was wonderful to meet him. He is one of the nicest people on the planet. I was blessed to run across a lot of nice people in my life. So he was one of the nicest people on the planet.
What's the next picture here, Sean? This is Danny Glover.
Yeah.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yeah, my God. I didn't know he was sending these over. That's pretty cool. Good one. That is in Atlanta at the Georgia Terrace Hotel. They were working on actually Almost Christmas, which was one of my favorite Thanksgiving Almost Christmas movies. Jay was in that. And I was just hanging out with Jay for a minute. I was still living in LA at the time, and I was coming back and forth, and I ran into him. And I sat there and I learned a lot just talking to him about his longevity in the business, how you don't have to do a movie every year if you play it right. Uh, Create franchises instead of a one-time thing. Studios like franchises. There was so much stuff being under the radar, but still seen. Um, it was a lot of advice, and he was cool. He was very cool. Monique, who I've been knowing since she was younger, she's in that film. She destroyed in that movie. She was amazing in that movie. She's an amazing actress. I have to give it to her. I have to give it. She is an amazing comic, amazing actress or actor, because there are no actress. It's just actors. Period. I know, man. I got yelled at about that so much in acting school. I was like,
I
okay.
know. I hear you. It's you've been very blessed though to have people that have been in the business that were very encouraging and very, very full of advice and good information. Let me ask you this. I always like asking this question. What's the worst advice you ever got?
Oh. I can't say his name.
Advice.
I don't know, because he's still alive.
Okay, that's all right.
He was an old rocker. I think I was still 17. Now I was like working with this band, and my head was this big, dude. It was like, whoa, I'm with these guys. And he came on the bus. He came on the tour bus, and I'm on the back, and it's full of women, and I'm sitting in the back like this, waiting on him to get on. So he get on, he pulled his shades down. He said, ladies, and he pointed to his crotch. Either you're on or you're off. I ain't off the bus. I know. I know. I was like, oh my God. Then nobody moved. And I was like, yes, this is going to be wonderful. And then he was like, kid, to the back. I was like, what? He said, to the back. You don't need to witness this. Now, when you get older, he said, you do this every day, drink and smoke, and you'll have a fun life.
You're either on or you're off.
That was the line, man. I was like, oh my God. I'll never forget that moment. That was just, I was like, dude, because I had to think about it. You're on. Oh wow! And it hit, and I was like,
Can you imagine trying that line now at a bar?
Oh yeah, they'll Me Too movement me.
No, you will have so many hashtags before your name. If you tried that, ladies, you're on or you're off.
They'd be like, put the phone down. Put the phone down. Don't take my picture.
You got a TV show that you're working on here right now, and George Wallace, who is a hilarious comedian, was out here in Vegas for many, many years, and I think he's still has a residency here in Vegas, but he's also staying in Atlanta right now and working on this show with you. How was your relationship? How did that relationship start with George Wallace?
I met George at a young age, and I got to work with him in Vegas. And before that, we would work on the road a few times, and I would learn a lot. I learned more from him than I learned from anybody. To this day, we're both July 21st, so that helped us stay closest. And he tells you all the people, he knows everybody that is born on July 21st. I don't, but I know all the comedians. I just don't know every actor. George know all, and he'll go through them just like that, so quick, you know. Between him and working with Robin Williams, I think between those two, they were who's also July 21st. They were the two that I learned the most from, period. Very smooth. Their willingness to go out and take chances. George will take a chance right then. He'll write a joke, try it right away. And at that time, I was in that safe zone. Keep in mind, I'm still a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going with my 3 jokes. And then I got to bring somebody up. Don't be late coming to the club. We need you to know I got 3. We gonna bring somebody else.
That's
3 times.
beautiful.
But George gave me.
Did you meet him in Vegas when you were working with him, or did you know him prior to that?
Before I worked in Vegas, I met George. We worked on a big show together twice. One was, I forgot the city, and the second one was in Tunica. Then the third time was in Tunica, and that's when he said, you should come to Vegas, and you can open out there, blah, blah, blah. He said, I see you can do somewhat clean.
He is such a good guy, though.
Yeah, he was, and he would let me come out there all the time. We would talk for hours at a time. He is wonderful. I mean, a wonderful human being. You should have him on your podcast. He would come. George would come.
I would absolutely love to have him on.
Oh,
I
man,
tried to connect with him during the. I tried to connect with him during the pandemic, and we just didn't end up getting a chance to make it happen. But now that I know you, and by the way, for people watching this and listening, I've come up with this thing after working with Lester for a week on the cruise ship of all the people that he has connected with. I've now created. Now my whole thing is screw 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Now everything is 6 degrees of Lester Bibbs. I can connect any human being on the planet and probably on a few other planets to you within 6 people. I would even say 5 people, to be honest with you. Now, I want to ask you this here, because you got a TV show, and George is going to be playing your father in this. And without going into all the details, because it's still in the development stages, and sadly, the producer on this thing had just recently passed away, so you're trying to figure things out, how the direction is going to move forward with that. But how is it writing with George on putting this together? Because he's had so many years of experience, and obviously he was the inspiration behind, Seinfeld's character George Costanza is actually George Wallace, technically.
Yes, absolutely. George is quick-witted. So when he was getting on me the other day about sending over the final cut for the final script. So I'm going to send that over. But the way I write for his lines, I'll have the frame and the direction. We're trying to get to point A. Right. And I want him to flow and not feel like robotic or anything like that. Not saying that he would, but in my mind, when you tell people, okay, you have to be this instead of yourself, because you're hiring that person's personality, that person that's so you want them to be yourself, just saying this. So I leave so much wiggle room for him. Even though all the stuff is funny that we got in there, the wiggle room that allows him that freedom will basically take the handcuffs off. It's like taking us away from the family show on the ship.
Right.
Allowing us to go, hey, we don't have to think every 5 seconds before we say something. And you have to be able to trust somebody to do that. Oh, man, I want everybody to be that way.
No, exactly. Well, and how many years has this been now since you've had this relationship with George? It's got to be, over 20?
Oh, well over 20. I've been knowing George forever, man. I knew George when his hair was black. He got slightly gray now, but when his hair was black, I've been knowing George for a long time. My favorite movie about him was Rage in Harlem. By George. And when he did Rage in Harlem, and he kept talking about how ugly this kid's mama was on it, it was just hilarious because she did look like a dude in the picture. If you've never seen that, you have to see it. Him and Danny Glover.
What's that name again? Rage in Harlem or Raging Harlem?
Rage in Harlem. Forrest Whitaker's in it. Robin, what's her name? The one that messed up Tyson? Robin, well, not messed him up, my bad. Robin Gibbons.
Yes.
Robin Gibbons. Yeah, oh my gosh, he was like, perfect in there. She was a very, very beautiful lady back then. I didn't realize it because we were so mad at her because of Tyson back in the day. We didn't recognize how hot she really was until you look back and go, well, she was hot for a girl in the 80s.
Now I want to go back here to you growing up in Memphis. Your mom, we're hanging out for a few days, and you just casually dropped this bomb on us. when we're having lunch, you
Oh
and I.
man.
We grew up in
Oh,
you grew up in Memphis, and it's just well, this was just second nature for you. Your mom worked for
mhm.
Elvis.
Yeah, she was a maid there. Yeah, yeah,
What
and
did
we were.
how long did she work for him?
Um, she worked for years, and like even when his mom died, she was telling how she had to clean the room. I want to go into detail,
No,
because
I
that
got it.
was kind of
Sure.
sensitive. Yeah,
No,
and
absolutely.
yeah, man, and everything else, and they were cool. Priscilla, when she had her daughter, which was Lisa Marie, mom was pregnant with Tony, so that's how my brother Tony and Lisa Marie stayed close. So that her death hit him harder than it hit any of us because they've been knowing each other for a long time. Uh, my mom took it hard. I mean, of course, she said, she loved her like it was her own family member from birth because that's the way he treated her. He would always treat her with love and respect, kindness. Anybody did anything wrong to her, he would go out of his way to make sure she felt safe. He wasn't like people would, which I never seen. He was never the way people would describe him. They would say he was this, he was that. No, he was kind. He was gentle. My mom was there when they said that he told this black man he couldn't polish his shoes. She said it wasn't like that. He asked the black guy. He said, let this guy do it, which was a white guy. He said, you've been doing this type of job. Here's the money, but let him shine my shoes. He was trying to say there's better stuff out there for you. People took that and
Right.
ran with that. My mom has never given an interview to anyone because she didn't feel like you should capitalize on his death. And, which she was right. I admire her for that. But one time she turned down what it was $1.5 million, $2 million that the Inquirer was like, man, I was trying to impersonate my mom. Hey, this is Mrs. Bibbs. This is not her. Okay.
$1.5 million, $2 million, and this was a while ago.
This was like 96, 97. And she still would say nothing.
Classy lady.
Nothing. Oh my God.
Classy
Yeah.
lady.
Not
I
a
give her
word.
a ton of credit. What's the story? Tell the story about, because you would talk about this was just second nature for you and your family that your mom worked for
Yeah.
Elvis, and Elvis would be on TV, and you
Yeah.
go, "Hey, mom, your boss is on TV."
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I would see him on
did
TV.
you have any idea? I mean, like I said, we're both the same age. So, and I remember when Elvis died, and my mom was sitting there just crying in the living room playing Elvis records. And I
Oh
knew who
my
Elvis
God.
was because my mom played Elvis all the time. She loved Elvis.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so, I mean, did
We
you ever have
knew
any idea how big he was when you were growing up and your mom's working for him?
not until he died. Because he was just Elvis, the guy that my mom worked for. He's the guy
Right.
that showed up in my school when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? He's just Elvis, the
Tell
guy
me,
who fence I climb over and get on his horses and get a whooping later when I get home playing bass with my mom. These are the, he was just Elvis. And when he died, and they had his funeral in his house, like from where I was living, he lived in Whitehaven, which they call Blackhaven now. And from his house, you had to drive past where we stayed, which was like 3 miles, 4 miles. I drove my bike down to his house from my house as a kid. That's how I would get there all the time. And all the way to downtown, all the way to the funeral thing. It took about 8 hours to go 5 miles. There was so many people there. It was insane. People were camping out on the streets. People were crying for days before the funeral. It was people trying to steal his body the day that he was put in a tomb. That's why they had to move him to the house. It
yeah,
was insane. And it hit me. Maybe this guy was known by a few more people than just us here. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow. I mean, he was huge, and he was a mega huge man. The nicest guy, one of the nicest people I ever met. So I never heard people say things directly bad, but when I hear the rumors, I'll be like, no, y'all got him wrong. That guy was not like that. Everything, and he went to Hills.
Humes was too black for me. You gotta be hard as hell to go to him, and that was back then. So think about
To go where?
you
To
know
go where now?
Humes. It was a high school. It was Humes High School. It was a rough one.
Okay.
Um, and when he would do music, they wouldn't let him go do music with us. He would have to go there and sing in the hood. Every
Right.
time, with all the black bands, and that's where he learned all the. Hound Dog was written by an older blues lady that was there on the corner, and
Right.
they went together, and he got it from her, recorded there at Sun Studios. I was too young to know all of this, but as I got older, I learned a whole bunch of stuff about him that I just didn't know. And so for people to actually say he was that way, that's a lot. He was not that, or I never seen it. Now, if you can show me some proof that he was, go ahead. I'm waiting. But no,
Now,
from what I saw.
now tell me the story. Tell the story again. You told me this on the ship. When Elvis came to your school.
Yeah, okay. People used to, kids can be jacked up. People used to make fun, because my mom would pick
kids are assholes.
They could be jacked, especially inner city kids, man. They had no chill, They would come, my mom would pick me up in a little maid outfit. They'd be like, here come Hazel, here come Alice, Here come Florence, here go Benson. I'll be like, Benson the man. Your mama got a beard. I'll be like, damn. It's not a beard. She just has thick blood. It's rich. So, I would get into a fight every day. And my mom would tell how they would tease us and everything. That's basically how I started doing comedy, because I had to start to talk back. And I learned how to talk back and get the best of it. Unfortunately, that came with, I'll see you after school. I was like, what does that part mean? Man, you got to fight. And so I had to learn to fight. I had to learn to fight quickly. So I'm talking and I'm getting feedback. So my mom was like, we got to put an end to this. And he was like, what? And so the way I heard the story when she told him what was happening, and that was it. Just left it like that.
So the kids you went to school with, they just didn't believe that your mom worked for Elvis.
Exactly. So, and they would give her a rough time. So he showed up in the classroom. I ain't gonna lie. I walked in and they were like, we have a visitor today. And I'm doing my work. And they said the name, and I looked up real slow, like, oh, wow. And he walked up, hey, little man. And he sat there talking, blah, blah, blah. He couldn't fit in the chair. But he had a little red, it was a red plastic. It was red plastic with the little iron things on it. Golly, I can't believe I remember that. And he scooted it up and sat next to me the whole day, and what you working on? And the kids was like this. I was like, so I didn't get any more problems. Yeah, man, he was a cool dude, man. That was very cool. And all of that came from my mom. When Arsenio Hall would come to the place, and everybody who got to talk to my mom, and everybody wanted to meet my mom. Steve wanted to meet her. Everybody met her because of the fact that she used to work there. And they wanted to hear the stories and stuff. And she would always tell the humorous stories. She would never say anything bad or dark or anything like that. It's only one story, and then you discussed that off camera. And yeah, but that's, man, Elvis nipped that in the
classy lady. I mean, you don't find people like that very much anymore. Sadly,
No.
your mom is a rare breed to have as much character and class as she does, because there's so many people that would throw anybody under the bus right now for a buck.
Yeah, and she's a minister. My dad was a minister. She's always been that way. She's always tried to make sure I stayed on the cool path and this and that. I was like, Mom,
I noticed you said the cool path, not the right path.
Yeah, I know. Stay on the cool one at least, Lester.
Sometimes the right path can be the cool path. Now, you and I meet last week on the cruise ship.
Yeah.
And I talk about in my act about having cancer, and I'm now 23 years in remission from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah, that is such a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you. You are also coming off of this as well. Cancer. You had pancreatic cancer, which, by the way,
Yes.
I think the last time I
Yeah.
checked, the pancreatic cancer has
3%.
Los Angeles Lakers championship numbers. Pancreatic cancer is
Yeah.
pretty much undefeated for the most part.
Hell yeah. 3% survival rate.
First off, again, grateful and just blessed that you're able to make it through this. Pancreatic cancer. You went through the chemo and all that stuff. None of this was working.
None.
And you ended up going. So then you ended up going into the holistic approach and now doing stem cell transplant.
Yeah, stem cell goes with it. It's a lot
Talk
of
about
other
that.
stuff.
Talk about that when you got to the point when you're going through chemo, and I mean, I'm assuming this was back in what 2016 or 17 when you got diagnosed. Was that correct?
Yeah, 2016, and by 2018, I was pretty much told I wasn't gonna make it.
Yeah.
By 2020, when the pandemic hit, I had just started going through the holistic stuff. And this doctor, Tess, who studied under Dr. Sadie, who was a brilliant doctor that a lot of people didn't even know he existed. I had to Google him, never said his name when I was talking to you. I just said a doctor who had cures to every disease and had the Supreme Court ruling to prove it. And it popped right up. So people didn't know who this guy was. I knew who he was. I knew his practices, but I never needed him at that point in time for something like that. I was just learning how to stay healthy. And then I was like, cut out too much stuff. Because I wanted my steaks. I wanted my this and that. You know what I mean? And years down the road, and I wanted to find out a way that I could have saved my dad who died of lung cancer. And I watched him go. So for years, I always wanted to study and learn how could I have helped somebody else not go through this.
Right.
Feet on up, I get sick during this time. Tess, I just call her Tess. She was working under him, and she became a MD herself. She started seeing that they were not curing people, they were just treating. So her son, maybe I shouldn't put this out there, her son got a terminally ill disease, cancer. And she cured him. She knew what to do right away. She knew how to cure him. And she stopped being a regular MD and she combined both. And now she's, I would say, 99% on the holistic side. And the stuff that they're able to do and bring to the table, the technology, I call it an MRI. I know it's not MRI, but it gives you the same results. She can scan you over the phone and tell you exactly what's going on in your body. That's amazing to me. Even though the technology came from Germany, it's so useful because you don't have to, we got to make an appointment and weeks later we can get you in and all of it. No, time, when something is time sensitive, every second counts. She also has things going in, the stem cell that you mentioned. We take it on the road, the smaller version, because this is the blower. It's just like a smaller version of it, stem cell, and it goes in.
Whoa. What is that thing? Hold it up again. That is...
It looks like a ladies' tour. Matter of fact, I pull it out and women be looking at me like, "Oh, he's one of those," and I'd be like, "No, no, it's not what you think. It's not one of. No, can you sit down, sir? No, I mean I can. It's not. I don't use that. I don't. It's not one of those. It's not one. Oh man. So I carry that and we use it, and we make sure I don't get too far off the grid. Let me say it like that. I don't want to use her word. Make sure you don't get up. All the hard
when did you finally decide to go this route? What made you finally go, I've got to try something different. This stuff is not working.
When I was told that I wasn't going to make it, and it got to the point where when people would see me, and give me a hug or talk to me, they would just break down with crying, and it was bad. And
Right.
to see my mom look at me on video and just start tearing up, and then it just started flowing. I said, I got one. I left social media for about a good year and a half. Uh, and two, I didn't want people to see me. I wasn't touring at the time when it was that bad, but when I started the holistic stuff and got better, I hit Roll up and said, I'm ready to take some dates. And they was like, well, everybody's changed. They had new people. We want to talk to you and blah, blah, blah. I talked to Dory, who was, by the way, heavenly nice. Oh my God. Have you ever seen her? Jesus. She looked like she just stepped out of a magazine. I was expecting, older, fluffy lady with gray hair, not a supermodel. Oh my God, did I fix my hair type lady?
Yeah, Dory, the entertainment director over at Royal Caribbean, she books the comedians on board. So, and it was great that they were
Oh
very
my.
gracious with you.
They were so amazing and allowed me to work, man. And she was so sweet. She had just lost a friend to it, and he was a fellow comedian. I didn't want to say his name in case he didn't put it
Right.
out there.
Sure.
But and she knew what I was going through, and she was nice enough to allow me to work. And she cleared it with her people, I'm assuming. And I went in, and we didn't have a problem. We only had one issue, and you know about that. And that's when things got a little rough. And other than
Yeah, you
that,
had to
though,
fly off
I
the
think,
ship, I think, in Mexico one time,
yeah, man, Oof,
and then
that was
and
rough.
shoot back home. I mean, that's
Yeah,
tough
I
because
was.
you're going back now. I mean, you were literally going through holistic treatment for the better half of 4.5 years or 4 years essentially,
Yeah,
because you were just declared in remission 4 months ago, from what you were telling me.
yeah, yeah. And the thing
Tell
is,
me that thought when they finally tell you that.
when
Finish
they
your thought,
told
and
me
then
that I was, well, my first thought was I felt relief, and my first thought was tell my mom. I know that's sad, but it was to tell her. Then it said
no,
to
it's
call
not
my
sad.
son. Yeah, I know because I wasn't thinking like, I was thinking tell my mom, tell my son, tell Nina, Dr. Jefferson, and then my next thought was, will it come back? That was the first thing, that will it come back?
Oh
Are
yeah,
they sure it's gone? Uh, I was having dreams. I probably shouldn't say that, but I was having dreams days after, weeks after, to this day that it came back, and I keep waking up and be like, it's a dream. It was just, I don't know if anybody ever experienced that. I feel kind of weird to talk about it, but it was always those questions. I'm always concerned. You and I talked to you about it. I told you, I was like, dude, that's my biggest fear, that it's coming back. It's still so new. It feel like I still need to work on stuff. I feel like I still have to fix this or fix that. I'm strict on my
right.
diet. I try my best to stick to it. You've seen it. It's been
No,
hard,
you're a
but
champ. You're on a plant-based diet. You're vegan, and
oh,
you did
thank
not
you, man.
you didn't go off the reservation at all. And that's completely true with anybody that goes through cancer. Is that any little ping that comes in your body afterwards, you immediately
Yeah,
think the worst, because once the worst has happened, then you go,
Mhm.
oh, this is legit. This can really
Yeah.
this could really come back. What would be the biggest I guess impact that cancer had on you? And I always say, and I tell people this all the time. I said cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me, because
Yeah.
it helped me put things in perspective. It helped me put things in what matters most,
Yeah.
what means the most to me, what's going to bring me the most joy, the most benefit, and
Yeah.
just how you treat people in general. That was, I mean, that was
Yeah.
the impact on me. For you, what was your takeaway from coming out of cancer?
You pretty much summed it up. What I said at the end of the show, man, it was basically everything that I thought was important at the time. Needing a big house, needing to have the flashiest jewelry, be the sharpest person in the room, which I still like that. But don't mean I need it. All the other material things that didn't amount to anything, I found out that I was wrong. I was living my life for things that didn't mean things. So I was living a
Right.
meaningless life instead of making sure that I leave a legacy for my son. Let people know, everybody, because we're meant to be here to love other people and make their experience in life lovable. And I try to live that way every day. Sometimes people push their limits. We've seen some on the ship. Yes, we did. The little guy, we got him back though. We got him back. You got him with the camera. He was like, I got you. What a great moment. That is a historical moment. And if people ever knew it, one day you'll show it. And you'll be like, aha, this is what happened. So, but you have people like that. And we still found a way to make him smile. We were doing things. There was a
Right.
lady who her daughter lost her friend in a car accident. We found a way to make them smile off stage, and it wasn't force or fake.
Right.
We was just in the moment with them. So I learned
Mhm.
to appreciate the moment and love people more, and don't build up what I perceive to be my problems, because the problems that we have when you facing cancer, all that other shit is nothing. It means nothing. None of the fear that I used to have about going up and doing a joke and it not work, all that went out the window. I feel
Oh
like I'm
yeah.
far more comfortable. Yeah, man. And we'll get up, you and I, we basically wrote a joke every night we went up on stage and wrote it and worked it out until it was until it was a complete joke. And by the time we left, we had at least 1,000 people on the ship talking about Little Pookie of the Seas.
Which, by
I
the
say
way,
that
is the brainchild of Lester Bibbs. Little Pookie of the Seas is the new diversity ship being launched by Royal Caribbean. Every ship on Royal Caribbean's fleet is blank of the seas. So we were on Allure of the Seas, and then Lester goes, "Oh, they got a diversity ship called Little Pookie of the Seas," and then we
Little
just
Pookie.
proceeded to go off and just say the most insanely inappropriate things that would be on a hood ship in the ocean. And I'll just leave
Leave
it
it
at
from
that.
Oakland.
And I will leave it at that. I'm not gonna that joke needs to come out of your
Oh my
mouth
God.
150%. End of story. But yeah, we had so much fun putting that together
Exactly.
and tagging it and making it happen. It was
Oh
absolutely
my God.
hysterical. Oh my God.
We had that was one of the best weeks I've had on the ship ever. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I love working with
Man,
wonderful people.
we had such a good time. And as we wrap up here, by the way, upcoming shows for you. Let's go ahead. Where can people find Lester Bibbs? Of course, on the screen at Lester Bibbs, LesterBibbs. Find him on Instagram. Follow him there. Also on Facebook. Upcoming shows that people can find your sexy ass at.
Okay, you can see me in Birmingham coming up in November. Memphis is going to be in September. Right offhand, I'm trying to think of the other two. I know Helium's coming up. I'm really bad with this part. I always have to look at the phone or ask Alexa, but my Alexa has Down syndrome, I believe. Sorry, Alexa, I know you hear me. She's like, it's quite all right. I've heard you call me names before. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I looked at it, but yeah, but Stardom sticks out because Bruce and Cheech are more so like mom and dad to me. They've been knowing me so long. They are the people I know the longest in this business, even almost as long as Steve Harvey. I met them 1 week afterwards. Mm-hmm.
That's a
And I
phenomenal
love
club.
them
Anybody
so
that has
much.
not been to the Stardome in Birmingham, Alabama, needs to go. It is absolutely
You have to go.
gorgeous.
You
Now,
have
as we
to
wrap
go
up
there,
here,
man. You have to go.
I know we should figure out a week you and I can work together. That would be a
Man,
blast.
I can add you on that show that week. That would be great.
Oh,
I just tell him I'm bringing you with me. Man, that would be so dope.
oh man,
Bruce would love it.
yeah, it would be.
Yeah,
Oh
'cause
boy,
you
we'll
know
talk
what?
about.
He said you're
We'll
gonna have
talk.
laughter and friends. So here come my friends, dude. Let's go.
Boom. I love it. Now, before we cut loose here, first off, again, congratulations on your cancer remission. Knock on wood. I'm always going to be again eternally grateful for your friendship, and also always positive for your continued recovery. What I want to hear you do now, you did an impression of Barack Obama on the ship. Now, what I want to do and what I want to give to the audience here now, I want to have you doing Barack Obama talking dirty. Barack Obama talking dirty, as done by comedian Lester Bibbs. I'm going to give you a second to get your composure together.
Oh, okay. All right,
Barack
I can see him
Obama
now.
talking dirty.
They'd be like, Michelle, you mind coming in here for a minute? I want you to say something naughty to me. Wear that dress that we got, the ones with the holes in the back. Remember that time we were in Europe, and we did it on the balcony. The cleanup guy thought it was toothpaste on the balcony. I told him, don't taste that. It's not toothpaste. He said, yes, it is. It tastes like Colgate. It was a bittersweet moment.
All right, mission accomplished. That is exactly what I was hoping would happen. Lester Bibbs, find him online at Lester Bibbs. See him at the Stardo in Birmingham, Alabama. Also, follow his social media. All the dates will be on there when his shows are coming up. One of the most funniest, funny, hilarious, energetic people I've ever met. You always got a smile on your face, and you are as good as you are on stage. You're a better human off stage, my friend. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough either. I appreciate it,
You're
man.
awesome,
Look
pal.
forward to being back on here. Let's get crazy, George Wallace on here.
I'm looking forward to it. Lester Bibbs here on A Drink with Derek. Such a good time talking with him again. Follow him online at Lester Bibbs on social media, Instagram, and Facebook here as well. Check me out over at in Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville Comedy Club, May 18 through 21. I'll be at the Laugh Factory in Vegas, May 22 through 28. And then Host, which is a cool little venue in Utica, Michigan, on May 31st. And Dr. Grin's Comedy Club in Grand Rapids, Michigan, June 1, 2, and 3. Also, grab Open Bar Comedy Special, Melting Snowflakes. Go to openbarcomedy.com. It's a subscription platform. There's a bunch of comedy specials on there. Some hilarious people. There's Dry Bar Comedy, which is wicked, wicked clean. Open Bar Comedy is not. It's whatever you want to say. It's not over the top filthy, but it's not super clean. And then also my book, Whiskey, Cancer, and Bad Decisions. You can grab a copy of that on Amazon with Kindle, Audible, or a hard copy of the book. Me talking about going through my battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, now being 23 years in remission. I am extremely grateful for that. Extremely grateful for my guest today, Lester Bibbs from Atlanta, Georgia. And I appreciate you for tuning in, listening today. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to A Drink with Derek. Find out when Derek is appearing near you by checking out DerekRichards.com. See you next time for A Drink with Derek.